Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
Michael, good afternoon to you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry, good evening.
On your show.
Michael, I'm losing track of what time of day it is, to be honest with you, these days. Good evening. I do apologise. Michael, I watched the video yesterday of you jostled, accompanied by two guards. I'm not too sure whereabouts or where you were heading or which way you were coming from, but what I saw was despicable, absolutely horrendous. They were throwing things at you, and genuinely, from what I could see, you look frightened. Were you frightened?
Well, I suppose I had better times, but you see, if I was on my own, it wouldn't have been as bad. But there was a young lady with me that was only 20 years of age. She's here on an official intern program from America. It was her first day. She came here to learn about Irish politics, and this is what she saw. I certainly was put out about that. She was shoved. She was pushed. She had to listen to horrendous language. And on top of all of that, her phone was stolen. So, that was an awful experience. And all I was thinking was, later on last night, imagine her parents over in America and her family knowing that their daughter came over here and, how would I put this? They entrusted her to Ireland, and our job was to mind her, and this is what happened on her first day. So I was more upset about her having to experience that. To be honest, don't mind about me, because I've seen lots of different things in my time.
It would be fair to say that the first day back at the Dáil, the protests are quite traditional. I mean, that normally happens, not like this. But they are usually quite traditional because people have a bit of an axe to grind over the summer. They start getting head up about it. And there's a million things people are not happy about. And we all understand that. There's immigration policy, there's the Freedom of Speech Act, there's loads of things people are not happy about. Climate change policies, all of those things. And you yourself, of course, I'm sure there are one or two things that some of your constituents may not be happy about. But this is not the way to deal with it. And what they're saying is, okay, we're angry. We have a right to protest. So how do we go about that now? Now, let's all condemn, absolutely, any behaviour like that. You don't have a right to touch somebody. You don't have a right to push somebody. You don't have a right to throw things at people. And you certainly don't have a right to have gallows outside the Parliament or the Dáil. So what do you recommend, or what do you say to people who feel angry?
Well, the first thing that I say to people, whether they're farming groups, teachers, nurses, disability groups, people campaigning and who have something to say to their politicians. I really mean this, because I've had the pleasure over many years of meeting the nicest people in the whole world who have come to Dáil, which is the right thing to do if they can and if they're able to. I think of the people who had to come from Donegal over the Mica issue and all of the different groups, fishermen, the fine people that came from all corners of Ireland with different issues. Keep coming to the Dáil and don't stop, because you are as welcome as the flowers in May to come and to put us on our toes. That's what we're there for. We're there to listen. We're there to work for you, to be your advocate, and to come out outside the gates and to meet the people. And I always come out and I always meet everybody. And you have people who could be quite angry with different things. And it how would I say this? It's an education to always, the more you keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and then go into the Dáil and then tell the government and tell the people inside what you're being told by the people who are what I would call making you aware of their concerns. So don't let this activity stop what I would call the genuine people who want to come and make their voices be heard. But these people that came yesterday, they were on a different agenda, Niall. They were doing something completely different. Nobody could even hear their argument because they didn't actually have an argument. It was incoherent.
No, they were all just shouting different things, and you really couldn't make much sense of what it was. I mean, Irish for the Ireland for the Irish and all this kind of. I mean, I understand some of it was about immigration. I get that, but they didn't put it across or portray it very well. But what I do want to point out to our listeners is that there wasn't a huge turnout for the protest. Anyway, there was less than 1,000 people there, and then it whittled down to 100 people who went around to Merrion Square around the other side of the Dáil. But in saying that, I want to be clear that 80% or 85% or whatever the percent is of those people were there just to protest and have their voices be heard. Sadly, there's about 15% of those people that were there, or 10% of those people that were there just to cause trouble and cause problems. And I think we have to be abundantly clear about that. Now, there was 12 or 13 arrests, I think, and the Minister for Justice said she doesn't want to comment on that because there's an ongoing investigation into the Public Order Act and those individuals. But, I mean, do you believe, because we're going to be asking our listeners this question later on, should people who behave in that fashion, who push a politician, throw something at a politician, jostle them, or basically put their life or their safety in danger, should they be jailed?
Well, could I answer it a different way? There was guards yesterday that had bottles thrown at them. There was guards that were kicked. I mean, that young lady that was with me, she was pushed, she was shoved, her phone was stolen. That was her property that she brought from America with all her contacts on it. And last night, she had to go back to her lodgings without her phone. Now, every person that has a mobile phone inside their pockets, which is everybody, do you know, you dearly, I mean, go out the door without your phone.
I know.
You'd be more likely to go out without your clothes on than without your phone, because your phone is so much a part of yourself.
Absolutely.
And every young person, imagine any 20-year-old going to bed at night without their phone. I mean, it'd be like a part of them was gone nearly. And imagine being, over from America and all of a sudden not having all your contacts. Now, she did tell me they were backed up on the cloud and all that, and she was going to go at that and trying to retrieve them. But that's an upsetting experience. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, forget about, you said somebody who does this to a politician. What about a person who does it to another person? Like, that's what we have to look at. They came with a clear intent of being nasty and being obstructive. And, I mean, the guards have a tough job to do. And I want to thank the guards, and I want to say that I appreciate them. But I want to give one other experience. I met a man, terrible nice man, who works in the catering staff in the Houses of the Oireachtas. And when they're coming and going, there's these passes, where they go indoors and you have this thing around your neck, like a fob or whatever.
Yeah.
And he had that around his neck, and there's a little emblem of the Dáil on it. And when he was going to work yesterday evening, he told me that he was called every name under the sun, that he was told he was a traitor, and that he was this and he was that, and vile language. This was a man going in working in the catering staff in the Houses of the Oireachtas, an honest, hard-working gentleman. Now, the people that were shouting at him, maybe they should take leave out of his work book and go away and get a bit of work, and maybe straighten themselves up a small bit. I was around the environs of the Dáil this morning at 6:30, and the one thing that I can tell you, Niall, is I didn't see one of them. And I'd say you wouldn't see them at 7:30 or 8:30 or 9:30 or 10:30. You would have to wait until out in the middle of the day before you'd see any of those people. And if you were looking for somebody to go to the bog with you, I wouldn't recommend going to take any of the people that I met yesterday when they were shouting the vile abuse, because I don't think there'd be much good there either. And, that's the message I'd send back to them. They were doing a lot of talking then about the taxpayers, and they were shouting about money. I don't think if we were relying on them to pay much tax, I'd say the Exchequer would be a fairly poor place if we were relying on their work efforts.
Well, let's not judge them all, but certainly I would suggest that you may be right in relation to some of them, yes.
Well, I'll judge the people that I saw and the people that I heard, and that I saw them kicking a young girl. I'll judge them any day of the week. And they weren't real men or real women. They were cowards.
In relation to some of the things that have been said by politicians over the last 2 days since this happened, that, it's not as safe to be a politician, it'll turn people off wanting to be a politician. Now, let's be clear. To be a politician, you also have to be not only reasonably intelligent, but you have to have a thick skin. Because you're going to get called names every now and again. People are not going to be happy with your decisions and your policies or whatever it happens to be. So what would you say to young people thinking of being a politician? Just have a thick skin? Is that what you would say? Or is it getting more dangerous, Michael?
No, it's not. the one thing that I wouldn't like to do now is I wouldn't go exaggerating it in that type of way. And I'm not saying that you're exaggerating, but what I'm saying is I don't want it to be exaggerated by people. It was an incident that happened yesterday. Now today, drive on and forget about it, but make sure that it doesn't happen again. And what I mean by that is any person that's going in, it's like the man in the catering staff. It was like the very fine journalists. There was young ladies, journalists that I heard were called awful, dirty things altogether. And these were people reporting on democracy. They worked for radio stations, for newspapers, and they were called every name under the sun. How could that be right? And by people, like I say, that I'd like to see what work they've done, and I'd like to see what they've achieved. And here they are shouting and roaring at people going about their work and trying to obstruct them. That can't be allowed.
But okay, finally, Michael, just before you go, and I think we all agree what that type of behaviour is unacceptable, right? I think we'll just put that to bed for the moment. Just finally, before you go, in relation to where we're at in this country, there's a juncture here at the moment where people do seem to be unhappy. There are over 76% of people said, for example, that we're letting too many people into the country. People are unhappy about the free speech or the hate speech laws that Minister McEntee is bringing in. People are unhappy about the cost of living. People are unhappy about the housing crisis, the accommodation crisis, the cost of rent. People are generally unhappy about a lot of things that they believe the government should be fixing. So where do we go? There was a time when people would go out into O'Connell Street, 100,000 of them would march down the street and something would be done. That seems to have stopped. I think social media has kind of put a stop to that because people have got a bit lazier now the way they protest. So what do you suggest to people to get those problems fixed?
What I would say is continue to lobby your politicians, whether they're in opposition or whether they're in government. Make your voice.
But the opposition are useless. You know that, Michael, as well as I do.
Well, but people still have to have their say. We do live in a democracy. Thanks be to God for that. And we have to rely on politicians to be the voices and the advocates for the people. I'm continuously saying it, and I don't say it in a throwaway way or a flippant way, but I am a servant of the people. I start out in County Kerry, and my job is to get elected there, and then I'm a servant for everybody. And my job is to work for people, for their betterment, for the betterment of their families and their communities, and to do whatever I can to be their voice. And everybody else should be doing the same. And we should be doing what's better for the greater good. And yes, nobody's going to get it right all the time. I know that I make mistakes all the time, but I'd hope that I might do things right more often than I do things wrong.
Well, whatever about individual politicians and TDs, the government as a whole seems to be getting a lot of things wrong at the moment. Well,
correct.
You know, and unfortunately, the opposition, well, Sinn Féin, for example, are not much of an opposition because they seem to sing from the same hymn sheet. And people find that's not very democratic. If we go back in time a long way, Michael, you and me will remember politics of the past. You had defined political parties with different policies. So when a government got in, you had a genuine opposition.
Well, Sinn Féin are getting ready at the moment to jump into bed with whoever is going
Fianna
to jump into bed with them.
Yeah.
So, and that looks like to be Fianna Fáil because they're the only ones that seem to be pulling back the blankets saying, come on in with us. So that seems to be shaping up like, and there's a cosy relationship. We saw it starting when Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil were getting ready to jump into bed together. So there's a lot of that sort of thing going on at the moment. But I'd like to think that there are still people with a clear thought process of what they're trying to achieve, and that is to put right some of the wrongs that are going on at present. Okay. And I won't even start with them because we'd have to go on.
We need an hour. We need an hour out there. Let me go to Sean. Sean, hi. You're on Ireland's Classics Radio.
How you doing, Noel? How are you? Look, Noel, this is very heavy, and it's heavy even to me because I am a protester. Wasn't there yesterday, but I've been at many protests in many recent times. The Jobstown protest, the whole lot, the water protest, and some of them have worked, and you know that, Noel.
I know.
And the reason why the protests and the water protest work is because we were out there. We stopped contractors doing their work. I think the Irish government knew this, and it was never going to work. We were getting arrested by our thousands. And you see what happened with the Jobstown guys as well. And
they all end up in the High Court.
Yeah, and it was absolutely disgraceful because they shouldn't have.
Well, the
you know,
circuit court, wasn't it? Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing about this is, Niall, and what's happening here is, Niall, a lot of uncertainty. And I just, I want to focus on this, Niall. I don't want to focus on too much of what happened to Mr. Healy-Rae. And I want to.
I assume you condemn that behaviour, by the way.
I do, of course I condemn it. You know, there's no place for that. And it should never have happened. As you said there yourself, people can get their point across in a very mannerly fashion, other than phone calls that piss at people and attacking people. I don't think anybody will disagree with me on that one. But people are getting complacent now, and people are losing their patience with this government. And I'm afraid what's going to happen in the future. What I wanted to say to you, Niall, is that, and I would have loved to have a chat with Mr. Healy-Rae there about this one. My son is in a very good job, and so is his partner. They've €40,000, and to go for their place.
Yeah.
And they were refused, and they were told to come up with 80,000 now. Now, look, I don't mind. He's still stuck with us, and he's to go up with another 20, and she's to come up with another 20.
Because they can't get approved. They can't get approval for enough money. Yeah.
Well, Niall, and you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
The banks got bailed out, and they did get bailed out. And
I know. I mean, Sean, I know. Sorry for interrupting you, but I know it's not easy, particularly for young people at the moment when it comes to housing. It's impossible. Actually, it's an impossible situation. And I don't know what the right advice to give to young people. Wait, I don't know. You need a very good job nowadays to buy a house anywhere close to Dublin. And when I say a very good job, you need to have two people both on six-figure sums. So, otherwise, otherwise you're not getting a house. And I understand why people are angry, Sean. I do. I'm not for a minute discarding or disregarding the anger of the people.
I'm kind of afraid to open my mouth, Niall, in some cases, because I don't want to offend, anybody. But Mr. Healy-Rae has seen what happened yesterday. And I'm afraid to even say to, anybody, and I don't want anybody getting the wrong tale of what I'm going to say is people are getting complacent and people are getting annoyed and people want to know what's going on in their own country. And you've seen it now yourself. The electric picnic was only over and they're moving in migrants into the campsite. And people deserve and they do deserve. This is their country, Noel. We do deserve to know. And I want to know why my son can't get a house this day and age, and he had to come up, and his girlfriend has to come up with €80,000. When I even think, Noel, even when they come up with the 80 grand, it's going to be probably 100 grand. Because I firmly believe we're better off just building an extension. I even said it to him. I said, look, you're better off building an extension outside the back garden. And you're better off doing that.
That's not what they want. They want their independence.
Exactly, Niall. But you see, this government has taken this independence away from this, and I firmly believe in that. And what you said earlier on, Niall, and what Mr. Healy-Rae said is, he's no problem with protests. But Niall, we've done this. We've been outside Leinster House. We've been everywhere. We blocked M50s. We blocked ports. We blocked tunnels. We blocked everything. And nobody's listening. But what happens yesterday? There's fucking murder over it, Niall. And everybody's listening. But again, Niall, I don't want to say too much.
But they're not listening for the right reasons. The problem is when that happens and when you have people who behave in that fashion, it undoes everything. It undoes any good that it's done. The protests have done.
But what I'm saying is, Niall, me and everybody else, it's fighting for our own country and it's fighting for rights for.
Sean, I'm not a fan of the government. If all you got to do is look at my Twitter account, I've no time for them. You know what I mean?
I love and that's why I love your show, Niall, because you're very, very good in what you say. And I always thought that, you're very, very fair with the listeners and with who you have on your show. But by
the way, Sean, I'm equally frustrated talking about this tonight because I would love to give advice to people as to what the right thing to do is. I don't know what the right thing to do is, but I do know what the wrong thing. I do know what the wrong thing to do is.
I can't say, again, you warned us, and you did warn everybody not to even come onto your show, and I wouldn't come onto your show and say, well, that was the right thing to do, because it's not the right thing to do. But if Mr. Healy-Rae thinks that us showing up to the, to the Dáil and chanting outside, we need better housing and we need better this and we need better conditions, and for our mothers and our fathers there that are turning on the heating when they only need to, and shoes. But Niall, this is not good. It's not good for
No, it's not good. You're right.
No.
I mean, it's an absolute mess. The government, as far as I'm concerned, are doing an abysmal job, right? And they're in dereliction of duty. But I don't know the answer. I'm frustrated here even talking to you. I don't know what to do about that apart from wait till the next election. And the next election is not going to solve the problem, because we all know what's going to happen in the next election. It's going to be Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil.
Of course.
And that's more another 5 years of the same shite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know you've seen what happened last election. Majority verdict did vote Sinn Féin. And what happened? Shit show, no. It was an absolute shit show.
Well, no, that was because they didn't run enough candidates. But either way,
that's right.
But hang on, going by what I'm listening was from Sinn Féin recently, even if they did get into power, it wouldn't have made an ounce of difference, because they're singing from the same hymn sheet anyway.
Sure, Paul Murphy, Niall, was for everybody, and he was for the people of Jobs, and he was for the people of every, and then look at him now. Look at him now. He would sink you in 2 minutes, Niall. I've seen placards there with Paul Murphy's head on them, and I'm like, well, he earned that. He earned that because he did.
Well, I don't think. Well, I seen the gallows you're talking about. I don't think anybody earns that. I don't think. You know what I mean?
No, I didn't mean the gallows. I seen a poster with his head on the poster, and a traitor. Now, Niall, he is a traitor because
he may be a traitor to your cause, but he's fairly believes he's not a traitor to his own cause. And you are right. He may have different policies now to the policies he had 5 years ago.
Of course.
But then that's up to people who vote for him in his own constituency. If that's what they want to do, vote for him. If they don't want to vote for him, don't vote for him. But hang on, let me go to Pauline. Hang on, Pauline. Hi, how are you?
Good night, Niall. How are you?
Good, Pauline. I'm assuming we're all going to condemn bad behaviour. But should people who are arrested for bad behaviour under the Public Order Act, should they go to jail?
Well, I didn't actually hear about any protests. I don't watch the news since they couldn't get the figures of the deaths right during COVID. They had to make them up.
Yeah, but you've heard about it, okay? You don't have to have watched it. You've heard about it.
No. I don't listen. My point is I don't listen to
Okay,
it
well, I'm telling you
anymore.
about it now.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I was told by your presenter that they were protesting Dublin over free speech yesterday. Yeah?
They were protesting, but they weren't only protesting, they were physically abusing politicians.
That sounds a little bit like January 6th in America in the government building. That could be set up. You wouldn't know. I'm not very well.
Give me a break, Pauline. It wasn't set up.
I don't know. I'm not.
I'm telling you, Pauline, it wasn't set up. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not a group of people paid by the government to cause problems.
I don't
I know.
know.
I know. Hang on, Pauline. I know a lot of the faces. I see them all the time at the protests. They're the same people.
I don't have an opinion on that because.
Well, if you don't have an opinion, then there's not much point in talking to you, really, is it?
I don't have an opinion on whether or not it was a setup or not. I don't know. That's my point.
I'm telling you it wasn't a setup, right? There's no conspiracy here. It was a group of people who were intent on causing problems. Now, let's move on from that. So should they go to jail if they cause problems?
No, what I want to contribute to the conversation is that we should have a right to free speech. And
yes.
That is what I'm understanding the topic is on.
Well, no, that's not the topic tonight. The topic tonight is when people go too far and protest and physically hurt somebody, hit somebody, push somebody, harass somebody, should they go to jail?
Well,
that's not free speech. You don't have a right to do that.
Sure. I thought it was on the subject of free speech, and I'm not aware of what happened yesterday. Only thing I can say is a similar thing from what I can make of it happened in America.
Yeah, okay, well, let's not even compare it to that. You know what I mean? People who stormed the Capitol building you're talking about. It's hardly on the scale of that. Thank you, Pauline, because obviously you don't really have an opinion on it. Let me go to Frank. How are you doing, Frank?
Evening, Neil. How are you?
How are you doing, Frank? You've I don't know. Have you seen the videos going around from yesterday?
Yeah, I've seen everything, Neil. But before we start, can I just say what date is today?
21st of September.
21st of September.
Yeah.
Is this supposed to be a special day?
Oh, it is. It's a very special day, Frank.
Yeah.
It was the day my mother gave birth to me.
It's the day we all say Happy Christmas.
Frank, you're winding me up now.
Happy birthday, Niall.
Thank you very much indeed, Frank. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're no bother. Niall, we're weeks, I think, away from a Joe Cox or a David Amos.
To remind people, they were politicians who were shot in the UK.
Shot and stabbed in the UK,
yeah.
I think we're close to it.
I hope not.
By God, I do too. But after yesterday, Niall, I wouldn't be counting anything in or out. Like, I mean, yesterday was January the 6th in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
I know that last lady was on now. Well, obviously
Hardly on the same scale now, to be honest with you.
Oh, Jesus, I don't know, Niall.
Well, no, there was only a couple of hundred people there.
Yeah, there was. There was only a couple of hundred people in the grounds of the capital.
I know.
They reckoned the numbers there were less than 1,500. And look at, I mean, compare that population size. Like, we're looking at 3 times the size.
Well, I hope that kind of behaviour doesn't happen. But hold on, can I ask you a question, Frank?
You hit the nail in the head. Yeah, go on, well.
Do you understand? I do have an understanding as to why people are angry. I know why people are angry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you hit the nail on the head, Niall. I mean, you have a regular contributor from Cork, also like me, John O'D.
Yeah.
We all know what John O'D is protesting about. I mean, if John goes out with a placard, it says what he's protesting about, be it the 8th Amendment, be it water charges, be it...
libraries.
I don't know, whatever. I mean, if you put your nose outside the door in Cork, John would pick it. But
he'd be delighted you'll give him a mention.
Yeah.
But he knows where to stop.
Yes. But yesterday, nobody knew what the protest was about.
No.
Nobody at all knew what it was about. Yeah, you had anti-trans, anti-gay,
anti-immigrant,
anti-immigration, anti-Ireland kids leaving the country, which, by be quite honest, they all second should just go and experience the world. Like,
why should they? Why should they?
Why should
my
Ireland?
son? Hold on for a minute. Sorry, Niall. Can I just come in there for a minute, Niall?
Yeah, you can.
No.
Well,
yeah. I just. Here's the thing. I don't know if you heard what I said earlier on. My son and his partner can't afford a house at the moment.
I heard that.
And they have to come up.
I heard that. And I
just want to say something.
I'm in the same boat.
Well, my son just said to me there not too long ago. He says, "Listen, I think we'll just head off the Oz." Where a lot of his friends have went and gone, and I don't want my son. He has a great job, and his partner has a great job. I don't want my son leaving his own land and his own country for this Pox government. And that's where it is. It's the Pox government pushing them out. But no, pushing them out.
Selfish, and you're
pushing. But it's pushing them out of their own country.
No,
they should be able.
Well, hang on, one at a time. Frank, do you understand the point Sean is making?
Absolutely, and I'm in the same boat. My daughter has had to leave. She only went 4 weeks ago, for basically the same reason.
There's nothing wrong with leaving the country if you want to leave the country and experience the world. But Sean is making a point that young people at the moment they don't have a choice.
They're pushed out. They're being pushed out. Because they want to.
Okay, let him answer. Let him answer, Sean. Go, sorry.
You're 100% right. They are being pushed out. This is not down to we'll say the so-called government. We don't have a government in Ireland.
I'm sorry. I don't think it's singing off the same hymn sheet as I am.
They're mouthpieces.
It is down to the government. There's a reason why there's a land crisis. There's a reason.
I think the point he's making, Sean, is they're mouthpieces for Europe.
Oh, we know that. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. No, mouthpieces are not. There's a reason why there's a problem here, because these shower of folks are in power and they're pushing your daughter, my son out, and everybody else out of this country, and they're pushing them out of the buyer's market.
Huh? Who voted them in?
Well, I didn't fucking vote them in. I'll be honest with you.
You did. You did.
Oh, I did I?
Did you vote in the
make that one
last? Did you vote? Did you vote in the last election?
I surely did.
Right.
But I didn't vote for Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, when Frank, to be fair to people, they don't have much of a choice when it comes to voting. When the next election's coming around, as you know, next year, I could tell you, you don't have to be a psychic to figure out who's going to be in power in the next election.
I think you're 100% wrong there.
No, it'll be a Sinn Féin Fianna Fáil government.
I think you're 100% wrong there, Niall.
Okay, what do you predict?
My prediction, and you know something, if I'm wrong, I'll pay the election expenses. It'll be Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, with some independents.
You think they'll get back in again?
Absolutely walk back in. The last time they got 47% between them all. They don't need the Greens. They'll blame everything on the Greens in the next 12 months. And people will say, the Greens killed them.
Well, no, I'm not going to disagree with that. The Greens will be decimated.
Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.